So the Amber Heard thing's over. That was the result I expected. I had a conversation earlier today with a friend and said, and she was actually on Amber Heard's side to some degree. She found her story compelling in view of the fact that she was in an abusive relationship with someone high profile and abusive. And I'm like, yeah, it's like, but a story's designed to ring true to the likes of you, kid. It's designed to ring true. And then it's a matter of, well, if we have an honest word about your situation as to where you found yourself in trouble, you were just as foolish as he was, as she was. So it's like, you kind of get this. And it's like she's deliberately trying to play on your sympathy by telling you a familiar story. A familiar tale. Well, she got it. She's like, yeah, that what she was saying, that the monster would just appear and the mask would slip. She'd actually experienced that. And it's like, well, it's part and parcel of telling a believable story, but saying that, isn't that a bit of a cliche? Isn't that what you'd expect a victim of abuse to say? It's like she wasn't playing games. She put a statement out. A statement after she lost is probably grounds to get her sued again for defamation. What? Yeah, she doubles down. She says that, like, Johnny Depp is like the leader of some conspiracy against her. And that this has done tremendous damage to all women because in the future they can't be guaranteed a fair crack. And she was critical of the court system for the jury not believing her when she had no evidence. So it's like, oh, so you need evidence to get justice. And it's like, kinda. And then she hides behind the First Amendment and says, what about my free speech? I can say what I like. And it's like, no, there's actually exemptions from free speech. It's pretty clear. It's like if your lawyers were up to scratch, they'd have told you there's limits to free speech. What are the limits to free speech, John? It's like, well, you can't put a price on someone's head. That's how Martin Shkreli ended up in jail. Martin Shkreli was able to define the limit of free speech. And when he put that tweet out asking for someone to get a lock of Hillary Clinton's hair and he'd pay big money for it, he'd put a price on her head and he went to jail for it. And you weigh up the case and you're like, okay, that seems like a reasonable line to draw. He put a price on her head. He'd used his free speech to actually put a price on someone's head. He put a bounty on someone. And it's like, maybe your joke went a little bit too far there, Martin. But there are limits to free speech. You can't openly defame someone by telling outright lies about them. That is not covered by free speech. That's something else that's called defamation. Free speech was not designed for liars to get away with lying all the time. It's like there are other laws, there are certain mitigations, as there are limits to free speech. If you're openly lying about people, they can take you to task. She doesn't understand that. So she's gone for a free speech defence, and it's like, well, that's a good one, isn't it? It's like, how many people who are just flat out racist go for a free speech defence? Because there are plenty of people who are flat out racist. It's just a lazy way of thinking. Do it all the time. You know, there is racist. Well, there is plenty of flat out racist people. I saw that today with Ewan McGregor on about that black lady. Moses. She's new, isn't she? She's in that Obi-Wan show. It's like, that be seen as woke casting, and that be, for some, actually a carte blanche to give her some real horrible shit online. And I'm like, who the fuck does that? Like, did you watch the show? It's like, okay, let's entertain your woke casting for a minute. But it's like, she's probably the most interesting character in it. She's a fucking evil bitch. And it's like, okay, so they've woke casted a black woman as a despicably evil cow. Manipulative, cruel Sith. And it's like, how's that woke casting? If you wanted to turn it the other way, you could say it's racist. It's like, you've portrayed the black woman as an evil, vindictive bitch. It's like, well, yeah, they have, haven't they? And isn't she good at it? So I'm like, good performance. If you're a baddie and I hate you, right, in a TV show, you've probably done a good job of being a baddie. Everybody loves a villain, and she's a good villain. And it's like, he's been out today, hasn't he, Ewan McGregor, saying, well, if you're sort of the person who dies, it's like, you're not a Star Wars fan to me. And he's right, because there's something that isn't in Star Wars, is there? And that'd be call it racism. It just doesn't figure. They have different races of species of people. It's like the Empire's racist. The Empire is a human bias. Fuck aliens. Human bias. That's the Empire. They are racist. They've got a human bias. And it's like, Ewan McGregor today saying it makes me sick to my stomach that people would actually just jump on and say, my woke casting diversity higher and give this woman a load of crap. And it's like, that's, yeah, if you think that way, you're just you are a despicable cunt. Like, do them a favour. It's like, say there's a toxic community, and I think they're a toxic community as much as I've enjoyed some of the things they've done. That anti-woke culture warrior, complaining about TV being all woke and watered down and bad writing and stuff like that, and it's like they cherry pick. It's like I watch stuff that's not in the. I do like espionage stuff. I like crime stuff. I never used to watch crime stuff so much, but I've started liking crime dramas quite a lot. And I watch the science fiction, and I watch all these kind of mainstream shows outside the science fiction fantasy, and it's like there are things written today that have got a level of genius writing them that's like, oh, this is impressive. This is really, really good shit. It's like, this is as good as anything that's ever been made. At the same time, you've got it where the wokey has crept in. It's like, you guys, and I'll put it to you, if you've watched The Americans, it's like The Americans is one of the best things that's ever been made. And it's set in 1980, so we didn't have such thing as woke then. And it's where it's sort of coming through, it's cliched because it's identified as being Soviet propaganda. It's beautifully made. There's nothing woke about it. There's anything about it. Beautifully done, beautifully made. Series I've been watching the last couple of days, Tehran, which is an Israeli TV show about about Mossad in the war of assassins against the Republican Guard, Iran. And you watch that and you're like, who am I rooting for here? Who are the good guys? It seems that every character in this show has got pros and cons as to where they're not all good and they're not all bad. And if anyone in that show is as close to being a protagonist or else a white hat, it's the Iranian guy who's trying to catch the spies. It's the counterintelligence guy. The Republican Guard guy is the one who's got the most integrity. So it's like, what a show that is. What a show Tehran is. As to, there's no one in the world as ruthless as Mossad. And it's like, well, yeah, they play that straight. It's like an Israeli TV show, but Mossad are absolutely merciless. And it's like, the Iranian intelligence services are competent and serious. It's like, there's no dumbasses in this show. Everyone's competent. Everyone knows what they're doing. And it's saying there is no good and bad guys in this conflict. It's just a war of assassins. It's just tit for tat. And it's going to go on forever. It's going to keep going on. It's going to go on forever. And it's like, tell that story. And it's superb. That Tehran is as good as any TV show that's been made so far. What? Well, yeah, watch it. It's on like Apple Plus. If you find spurious, dodgy places on the internet, find it, you might have problems because it's subtitled. It's half in English and half in Farsi. So you need to be able to read the subtitles. If you can't read the subtitles, you can't watch it. So it's a matter of take the 7-day trial on Apple Plus and then pay £4.99 to have it for another month so you can catch the last 2 episodes of season 2 and watch that. And tell me that entertainment has gone down the woke shitter. Because it hasn't. It only has where it has. So I'm disappointed because I'm struggling to get my hands on season 3 of Das Boot, right? German TV show. I watched one the other week. Nothing woke about that. That Dirty Black Bag, which is a spaghetti western written and directed by Italians, shot in Morocco with an English cast made with Australian money. What? It's like Hollywood's no longer the home of television and movie production. It's like so many people have learned how to do it now that if you look at it, it's like Game of Thrones, just a show like that, revolves around having like 4 separate crews in 4 different parts of the world. So it's all about local talent, local skill tapped into. Filmmakers in Croatia are pretty cheap to hire. The set and crafts people are all there. So it's like these big shows have created an industry around the world, and now these big shows have kind of moved on. It's like, well, they've started on their own. They've started making their own good shit. It's like once, it's like you tell me there's a decent Israeli TV show and it's like really, really good. Like 30 years ago, all there was for Israeli television or Israeli movie production was Canon Films, Golan Globus. And they went to America. But say Golan Globus, who then became Canon Cinema. So they're Israelis. That was they were all of the Israeli movie production. It's like all of a sudden they've got their own ability to make. It's like Israel had no television for years. It's a fixture of their history as to where the only TV that they get is from other countries. So they get Egyptian TV. So when Egypt was propagandizing against them, they were receiving it all. They were just receiving it all with their aerials. They didn't have their own television stations. Well, that's a feature in that Tehran. There is no real Iranian television. There's no Iranian television industry. So all the sitcoms they watch are all TV from Turkey. So they're all watching Turkish television in Iran. Although that's Tehran points to a few things that you've been told, but you've never seen before. And what's that? It's like, oh well, you know, the kind of ayatollahs, the religious setup of that country. It's blind and very woke. What? Yeah, they seem to be under the impression that everyone in the country is a devout Muslim and that's the way to be, but it's not real. People just do what they do. No one really gives a fuck. The Muslim ardent thing is a way to enforce strict law on people when they need to do people over. And it's like certain people cannot be arrested and others can. And they've got a billionaire set in Iran. And who might they be? Oh, the richest families in Iran. They've done a deal with the supreme leader, Ayatollah. He's the figurative leader, but actually a corrupt elite's taken over the country. What? It's like, yeah, and they don't give the first fuck about Islam or Sharia law. They don't give the first fuck about that. They're like this. Whoring it up, driving around in sports cars. What? Yeah. Says, do you for a minute think that place could maintain and remain what it is if it didn't have this class structure? If everyone was a poor ass, was poor and being exploited, it's like, don't you think the smart people would rise up? Because you're only up against, clerics. You're only up against a religious front. But it's like this religious front is violent and dangerous. The Revolutionary Guard being people who recruit at schools and universities. They are the woke in Iran. And you watch it and you're like, There's something in that that was very realistic. And it was a situation as to where she's not a hero, she's the person who's in it. Tama, she's called. She's a female hacker, a Mossad agent. She'd found herself, through push coming to shove, getting spotted at a protest against the regime. She helped to hack the security cameras so they could have the protest. She was doing it as a favour to a friend, and she was spotted on the wrong side of this protest by someone who knew her. And then this person who knew her fingered her and found two guys to kick the living shit out of her. And they would have beaten her to death for being gay, traitor, for being gay, what they call dissident. It's like, yeah, that's about normal. It's like that's about normal as the world goes. Bad girls get bad guys to lay out beatings on women. It's like, yeah, that's kind of how the real world works, that. This is heavy. It's like, what a show. It crosses over and misdirects the audience, and it's like twist after twist after twist after twist. And it's like, oh, this is cool. Who's really on whose side? It's like you leave one episode of that thinking that the head of the Iranian intelligence service is working for Mossad. It leaves it with you. It's like, oh, no wonder he's been stopping his counterintelligence guys from picking up these people. No wonder they didn't put out this APB, the photograph of this Mossad agent. They didn't put it on television. They didn't make a big fuss of it. And it's like, oh. But turns out, no, there's another switcheroo. There's another reveal. And it's like, oh. So you get it as to where, you know, people would want to review that and sort of give a few things away. It's like, you couldn't really review it without spoiling it. So you'll find that people aren't reviewing it. You go and have a look on YouTube for people who are reviewing Tehran, and there aren't any. Because to actually address it is to start to give the story away. But it's like, that's phenomenal, a piece of television. That spaghetti western, that dirty black bag, it's like, this is really ballsy, this. This is an interesting story to tell. It's a bit gory and it's a bit earthy and inappropriate. But it's fucking good. It's like, this is kind of what the world is. We'll show you what the world is. So we'll show you the world that's outside your front door and show you what the world is. So you've got it where all this brilliant work's being done in this industry where they are knocking out some really high quality entertainment as to where it's like the writing has at the same time gone superhuman genius and at the same time died as well. So it's like some have advanced and some have regressed. And the ones that have advanced are going to win. And they'll win the ratings war. And it'd be a matter of this woke shit, right, is only being sustained by its intellectual property, basically the name. You're a good writer, Disney give you a job writing their intellectual property to make sure there's never another George Lucas, never another billionaire independent filmmaker who can do whatever he wants. They don't want that no more. They want that to end. But at the same time, television production now can happen anywhere. The internet makes it so that they don't need dailies anymore. They don't need to print. They don't need to cut. They don't need to wonder if they've got the shot or not. They can just look at it back and look straight away. Look at what they filmed. Digital. They can be uploading that information using just the same internet tools as the likes of me and you have got available to us, and they can be editing that shit. They can put a TV show together now that's been made in 5 different countries and be able to put it together because they can get dailies using the internet. So it's like the internet has revolutionised the movie industry or the entertainment business. As to where now it's like you can just make it anywhere, upload it. So the whole world is a place you can scout for location. It's like, can we get an internet connection here? Yes. Well, we can film here then. We can film here. We can do everything here. That 3D printing has allowed people to make like absolutely fantastic props. That's something that 3D printing is good for. Making props. It's like, look what they can do these days with props, costumes. It's like, this is impressive. It's like production value. It's like you watch that Obi-Wan show and you watch it and it takes a bit to work out that most of it was actually filmed indoors when it's outdoors. And it's like, wow, they've mastered back projection, which is a technology from like the 1920s. It's like they've mastered back projection. So now the actors can see the CGI they're interacting with. So they can realistically actually act and interact with the environment. And it's like, oh, that's they call it stagecraft. It's like, oh, that's changed everything. Why? Because it's made everything cheaper. You don't have to build sets anymore. You can build a digital set. And for Star Wars, believe it or not, there's loads of digital sets already made. What? It's like, yeah, you go into a game like Star Wars Galaxies and go and import everything Star Wars, because everything Star Wars is in Star Wars Galaxies practically. There's a 3D model for pretty much anything you might ever see. Do them up, incorporate them, paint them up, remake them, and all of a sudden you've got all the digital models that you need. Like, look at the quality now that they knock out in television and tell me that film isn't fucking dead. I'm not really that interested in film anymore, me, because television has surpassed film. Television is the higher art. Television, you've got longer. Television, you've got an audience in a different place that's not necessarily demanding to be super entertained. You've got time to tell an interesting story on television. So it's like, I prefer television now to movies, and that's a thing. So I just watched a television show with high production value where I just got to see Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader fight. What? Yeah, they had a fight. Obi-Wan lost, but they had a fight. It's like, you saw that in your own home? Yeah, didn't have to go to a cinema to watch Darth Vader fight Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's like, what a miracle. Now, as much as what's bad, right? Look at what's bad and look at the intellectual property. It's like Star Wars has learned its lesson from being fucking stupid, right? It's got some stupid bits and stupid remnants, but what they're trying to do has been difficult. So that Book of Boba Fett didn't really work, but elements of it were quite good. It had good bits in it. So it was watchable. It's like, it's not something I'm ever going to sit down and watch again because it's crap. Although I liked the music for it. I thought the music was brilliant. It inspired. You got a mixed bag now because they're making so much of that stuff. But it's like your Marvel shit. Your Marvel stuff is just absolute dog shit. And your Marvel stuff was always dog shit. I'm sorry, it was always a bit schlocky. Anyone who wants to come along to me and tell me that those Marvel movies are a kind of sort of high art, you're living in a dream world. These people who come along who've got like incredible reverence for characters like fucking Batman. I'm like, that's that camp shit from 1960s with the old Batmobile and the ridiculous fucking holy crap Batman. That's what it is to me. Oh, no, you haven't read the comics. It's like, no, would I fucking want to? I had better things to do. I was learning to be good at football while you were reading fucking comics. It's like I was fighting my way out of a fucking tough spot with bullies when you were reading fucking comics. I was getting chased down by gangs on my fucking push bike while you were reading fucking comics. So it's like this sort of obsession with, you fucked with our shit. Same with the Halo. I thought Halo was actually brilliantly done if you pretended that you didn't know anything about Halo. If you looked at that as just a high production value television series for a wide audience, it's a very good one. But you'll not find anyone on this platform who actually enjoyed that show. And I'm watching it saying, this is some good writing, this is well thought out, this has been played right. And it's like, those who just look for things to pick on, they've given up on the story already, they're not interested. They've just decided that they want to hate something and they're going to find things to hate. And if you want to find something to hate, you can find something to hate about anything. That's part of the freedom that we have as humans. We can decide we hate anything we like. But if you're starting to look for reasons to hate things, right? It's you's the problem, not the material that's being given to you as entertainment. It's you. You're a fucking hater and you got no sense of humour. So it's hard to cater for a wide audience when you've got so many different kinds of people in this wide audience. It's like no matter what you do, you'll always have people who've decided they hate your ass for one reason or another. So when it overblows and where that, say the actress from the Anakin show, just because she's a black woman, actually gets shit, it's like, that's racist. And I'm set against that. It's like, what the fuck's she ever done to you? What the fuck's she ever done to you? And what's actually wrong with her character? It's like, she plays a proper cunt so brilliantly well, as that I haven't got a problem with it. So yeah, she's a good cast. It's like, she probably, as a good actress, it's like, she'd likely have a career at that. I've seen a few of these where they're well casted and it's like, yeah, but she's really good at acting, isn't she? I mean, it goes too far in places where they just do it to provoke and be edgy. Because a lot of it, that's what it is. It's like you're dealing with people on the old left and their sense of humour is non-existent, and they work to try and shock people. They think shock and surprise are all really they've got in their arsenal because of the kind of people they are. Well, it's like, well, they're going to get phased out when they stop making money. And if you ask me, the entertainment industry has actually listened to the feedback and has started to change. And it's like, now it's started to change. You guys, one-trick fucking ponies hating on everything. Well, you've actually found yourselves out. You've found yourselves out and you've now become disingenuous and dishonest about what you're slating. You've become dishonest about it. You're actually now liars because you're not watching the stuff. You're no longer being fair. You've become as biased as those of you who paused. So at that second, you are no longer effective. So once upon a time, where I put it to people in that circle, your critical drinkers, your nerdrotics, all the red letter media, well, once I said you were actually fighting a worthy sort of theatre of the culture war. You're not anymore. It's like you've just obsoleted yourself. You have made yourself worthless. And you've made yourself worthless when you've got paid. When you've been paid. As soon as you got paid, you decided you yourself were a big shot. I swear, I disagree now. Now I've got an issue with for just being hypercritical people. So what? You're a hypercritical person. I was raised with hypercritical people. I've had hypercritical people around me my entire life. You become a hypercritical person looking for excuses to throw down, make a fuss. And it's like, no, you're worthless. You're about to be replaced by people better than you. Because that's what happens. If you become ineffectual, you lose your audience. And someone better comes along and replaces you. Those guys' days are numbered. And do you know why? Right? I'll just put it to you. It's funny. None of them have ever seen the Searchers. Like what? Yeah, none of them have ever seen the Searcher. The Searchers. Famous John Western movie, where from it we get sayings like, "That'll be the day." That was his catchphrase from that movie. And then Buddy Holly was inspired by the Searchers, and he made a song called "That'll Be the Day," which made it super famous. So it's like, you guys are not educated as to understanding where the actual references are coming from that are in all your movies, because everything references everything else because it's all derivative. It's like you don't see the origins of anything you're looking at because you just haven't been around too long. You've cherry picked like the top movies from your childhood and you've set them as the gold standard, and it's like, go back and watch them. They don't stand up. They're not the films you think they are because you're nostalgic and crackpot. You'll demand fan service like Top Gun Maverick, which is just fan service. It's just nostalgia, just totally nostalgia. You will say, and this is how you make a remake. This is how you, and then when they do that, and you've decided, oh well, for whatever reason, I've decided to hate this, you will call it fan service and say you're just pandering to the fucking audience. It's like, make your minds up. What are you? Are you fair or are you political activists? Do you enjoy this stuff or do you hate it? Have you got a love? I think if you make a YouTube channel and it's going to be about movies and television, it really does help if you love movies and television, not hate it.